Check, check, quick sound check. Can everybody hear us loud and clear?
I can hear you loud and clear, Coach Jay. Looking, looking young today.
Yeah. Found the fountain of youth. I found the fountain of youth. It is called standing at your desk, getting a workout in, and yeah, making sure you take care of yourself. Right, we focus so much on the markets that we need to take care of ourselves. So, had to do a little bit of that today. How you feeling today, Coach Paul?
Good, good, um, good day. How about yourself?
Not bad, not bad. Did not trade a whole lot. Traded in Topstep account early. Personal account, I did not place a trade. Met with some VIPs. Met with the VIP team today. Had some good conversations over there. Mostly talking about risk management and things like that. What we kind of always harp on in the beginning, especially in the VIP program. But that was good. It was good to meet with them. Then we, tried to trade Power Hour. Called out a great trade, but you don't get paid if you call them out. You got to take them. So we'll do better tomorrow. Called out a
talk, talk is cheap, but margin costs money, doesn't it?
It definitely does. It definitely does. But how are you all doing in the chat? Thank you for joining us and welcome to At the Buzzer, our market recap. If this is your first time here, the goal of this segment is to review what happened in the markets for the day. We may talk about some markets that you have not traded before, but we believe our goal as traders is to identify opportunity. We want to see how we could take advantage of those opportunities while managing our risk. If this is our first time meeting, I'm Coach Jay. I've been a Top Step Performance Coach since June of 2023. I've been trading for the past 13 years and in the futures markets for the past 6, and that is Coach Paul. Coach Paul, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hey, I'm Coach Paul. I've been with Topstep since April of 2023. I've been involved in the futures trading industry for 4 decades. I'm here to share some experience, some stories, and help you become a better trader.
Absolutely. You're all the chat, our audience. And for On the Blockchains, this is definitely not a Boston Red Sox hat. It is a Brooklyn Dodgers hat. Brooklyn got mentioned on the show today, and I haven't taken this hat off since. Uh, but
Wait, I thought that was the LA Dodgers.
yeah, sometimes people move, but we know where the heart is. Uh, we know where the heart is. Let us know how you did today. Were you up on the day, down on the day? Anything that you learned from the day? Bob the third in the chat says good day in the new XFA. Good start. Good start.
Great job.
Um, Let us know how you did. Up 246 in your new XFA. That is a day that is eligible for a payout by $100. Remember that new rule is $150 makes you eligible. Keep going, Bob. Just the beginning, but you're going to be taking some money out of that account pretty soon if you manage your downside and take good setups. So good stuff.
Yeah, good comment from Bink. The only thing I did right today is having a 10% personal daily loss limit set. That's great. Good job. There's going to be days like that. Preserving capital. Great
Did your
job.
work. Did your job as a risk manager. 100%. Went down a little over 500 in the morning session. Was able to end the day up $32. Nice recovery. Small green day from Courtney, scratch day for Rich. So good stuff. Suboptimal, Lenny to long in the ES ended up down for Billy. As long as that downside was managed, Billy, there is more opportunity tomorrow. All right, let's get into the news really quick. As far as planned news goes, we had US durable goods come out at negative 2.8%. Forecast was negative 3.8%. Previous was negative 9.4. We did have a consumer confidence number come out at 97.4. Forecast was 96.5. Previous was 97.2. So consumers a little bit more confident than expected. We had a 2-year note auction, but the unplanned news, of course, like always, is what the headlines are following. Trump firing Fed Governor Lisa Cook, and Lisa Cook saying, no, I'm not fired. So that is what the markets are looking at right now. Um, and we will see what happens from there. Coach Paul, you said it in the green room. There's going to be some drama that comes out of this one.
Yeah, this is to me one of the very important story. Um, Being a participant in trading and for many decades, and a, a s- a student of financial history, the independence of the Fed is paramount to trust. You asked yourself if you want politicians influencing and making decisions in the Federal Reserve Bank. That's
I
all
wouldn't
I
know.
have to say, and I think this is not going to go away. But it's a big story to me.
Like Mike Trades says in the chat, he can't fire Fed people like that. It has to go to court. I think JD was saying this is the first time in the hundred and however long year history of the Fed that a Fed governor was actually fired by a president. Um, so, unprecedented territory that we're in right now. And again, there is a process for how this happens because the Fed is supposed to be, its own thing and not affected by the government. But even if it doesn't go through, the fact that we're trying to fire Fed governors, and then you would think there's a replacement that needs to be put in that seat. That replacement, are they influenced to make decisions uh, in any direction? We will see what happens. We will see what comes out of it. How does that affect our day trading? Maybe it does. Maybe it doesn't a little bit. Volatility is what I'd say. Saw it last night in some of the overnight markets. Saw some selling. And I think there were tariffs mentioned as well in the overnight markets last night. So we will see. What it brings for us is volatility. We embrace volatility as day traders, but yeah, the larger picture, what is actually
Yes, and it was a volatile night last night. I think it was more volatile than the day, but
yes, it was. Yes, it was. So let's take a look at the quote board real quick. Who wants to know? Trading Baba wants to know what trade I took. I actually took a long in cattle today on this Topstep account. That was where most of the profits came from. Lost, gave it back a little bit, trading the NASDAQ and locked it up. To the downside today, we had crude oil down 2.22%. We actually heard some comments from the president during his cabinet meeting that he is looking for crude to trade under $60 a barrel. He says he thinks it's going to happen pretty soon. We talked about a couple weeks ago that large short position in crude oil, largest institutional short position in crude oil since 2009. JD shared that headline the other day. And then we get the president saying crude should be under $60 a barrel sometime here soon. 2.2% sell off in crude oil. Coach Paul, you're laughing. What happened?
well, I just find it a little disturbing that a president is dictating the price of crude oil. I'm a free market
Hmm.
man, always have been. Markets, sh- when they start being influenced by outside forces such as politicians, this can erode very quickly. Not It's not a practice,
Yep.
um, but it's creating a lot of volatility in the short term. We'll see how it plays out, but it's called market by dictate versus free and open markets. I'm firmly in the camp of free and open markets. That's the only way you find out what it's really worth,
Yep.
supply and demand. So it's creating a fog for me.
And I see some comments in the chat, just about the Fed governor thing, saying, she may not be the type of person you want as a Fed governor. Who checks the Fed when they mess up? And yeah, should there be a system of checks kind of across the board? Yeah, because you don't want, you know, them to just have, whatever kind of free will to do whatever they want either. And I think that's why there are multiple Fed governors and multiple voting members to check when things go wrong. But yeah,
Well, there was a Fed governor, I forget his name, it's from Kansas City, who was trading S&P futures in front of numbers.
hmm,
I don't why that no one ever brought that up. He was forced to resign, but I think he still has influence. So I'm not going to get much deeper into it. I the politics of it is something I can't control.
yep.
I'm a true believer in free markets and free thought. Um, and we'll see how this plays out.
All right, good stuff, Coach Paul. So to the ups, continuing the downside, we got crude down 2.22%, soybean oil down 2.57%, and heating oil, our biggest percentage mover to the downside at 2.83%. To the upside, we had platinum up 1.08%. Uh, Lean hogs, we haven't mentioned that in a little while, up 2.19%, and micro Ethereum, our biggest percentage mover to the upside at 4.32%. Recovering some of that loss from yesterday in micro Ethereum, we did have that big sell off. It was down about 9%, pretty much right back to 50% of that move. Uh, nice trade there. To talk about our Bitcoin, then Bitcoin barely moved, 0.5% up.
Yeah, and it was down a bit too. It came back.
Yeah. Uh, Crude oil, to talk about our big four, down 2.22%. We have gold up 0.64%. The S&P up 0.46% and the NASDAQ up 0.45%. Let's take a look at the S&P, Coach Paul. Uh, what are we seeing here on the daily?
Recovery yesterday. We had that spike last night. Bad selling. Couldn't drive it lower. We're still above the 20-day. Waiting for the big news tomorrow. But we're talking, there's nothing here that's bearish. Buy the dip is still on, which we witnessed today. What are your thoughts?
Buy the dip has been the play. We came down to right around 50% of Friday's move. We actually tagged it perfectly in the S&P. And going into the Super Bowl of earnings tomorrow, we are less than 0.5% off an all-time high. Uh, Now, we don't know how Nvidia is going to report, but this looks like a market that found a dip, found some buyers, and maybe ready to continue higher. But of course, anything can happen. Um, let's see the half an hour chart really quick on the S&P. What's this white line over here, Coach Paul?
It was 2 points from the bottom of the day, the
right,
200-day moving average.
right near that 50% of that daily range from Friday. If that is not a visual target, I don't know what is. And it happened, during the Asian session. Uh, It wasn't the cleanest trade from that point. I mean, maybe you did just buy it here off that low. Uh, Once we closed above that candle that tested that low in the New York
So
session. Yeah, I mean, it's a lot of risk here. 24 points to that low. Two ATRs on a 30-minute is 12 points, but slow grind up day. Buy the dip.
buy the dip. And once again, we could, let's just remove the electronic trading hours and go to regular trading hours. Oh, it's a different it's a different look. We don't get near that 200, but I'm really separating in a day when I'm trading and it's equities. I remove the overnight session. Um, that's a much cleaner tale of really what went on. Um, Plus, it had volume to it. So trading last night, I'm so glad it hit my stop. If without that stop, you're you're in a world of hurt, um, especially when you're over leveraged. If you haven't learned that lesson yet, if you got hit by that last night, learn the lesson. If you keep doing the same thing and not putting stop in or not measuring that risk, you're just it's just a matter of time before it hurts you. So um, without that news, well, that's a different chart. Also, we filled the gap from um, Monday's opening.
Hmm,
I mean, that's pretty friendly stuff.
yeah, pretty friendly. And the New York session, be what it is. Sometimes we hear Hogue say we might find better trade location. on, and I think that's kind of what it showed today, where there was a lot of overlap. There was a lot of chop in the morning for fast markets, but once we started to close some candles outside that range over, that high volume that we saw from the overnight, it was a pretty one directional afternoon. So pretty nice trade here. It took some patience. There was never really any seller control for today, but that doesn't mean, and we got to remember how this market has been making all-time highs. It's not extremely convincing, especially on the shorter time frame, right? Where we see it. We talked about whack-a-mole, Coach Paul. It seems like that's how we're making all-time highs, where it sticks its head above, and then somebody comes in and sells it right away. Maybe they're taking profits, but got to remember that the in trading these markets. And Matthew, no one is shadow banning you. We can see all of the comments that you're posting. I see you reposting it, so maybe you might get muted for that. I'm not going to read that out loud. I don't, I'm not going to get too political, but your comment is there. It can be seen. Uh, I don't think totally pathetic, but here we are. All right. Anything else you got on the S&P, Coach Paul?
Um, no. Let's look at the half hour. I
This is the
mean,
half hour on the S&P,
the 5 minute.
right? Here we are on the 5 minute.
So
5 minute opening range here. Yeah. Go ahead.
low was made on the opening, couldn't get through. Flat VWAP. I mean, this when we talk about patience, this is truly you need to be patient today. Um, if you get, one of the things easy to get bored and try to force something. Um, Not all days are rip and go. So if this today's the complete opposite of that. Um, but interesting with just the regular trading hours. I mean, it's a different. It's a completely different chart. We lose you, coach.
I'm here. I'm here. Yes, it is a completely different chart. Uh, yes, it is a completely different chart. All right. Speaking about completely, I'm back, chat. Don't worry. Uh, speaking of completely different charts, the Nasdaq very similar. What is going on right now? All right. Nasdaq looks pretty similar. We took a look at the half an hour chart. Extended trading hours came down. We didn't test that 200 moving average last night. Was this last night? That was last night.
Yes, we actually traded through it a bit, just like Nasdaq will do.
Right through it, but a good spot to look for potential. Again, 50% of that daily candle. It's why we mark these things out all the time. Do I always take a trade off of it? No. But, this looks like, when I see this pullback, Coach Paul, coming into the New York session, let's say I don't trade overnight. And I've been trying not to trade much overnight, just to kind of limit my opportunities to the New York session and just focus on executing really well here. Uh, let's say I don't trade, but I come into the morning. Hogan and I are doing the opening call every day, and I want to assess what happened overnight. If I'm looking for that pullback to the 200 moving average to trade out already before I start to get long, maybe I'm looking for this pullback here. I consider this a
Ye-
satisfied pullback, and I don't need it again.
Well, we talked about this last week. It
Mhm.
hits that 200. Now, I wouldn't have a resting. I wasn't trading Nasdaq last night, but I don't have a resting order to buy that. Maybe I should.
Yeah.
um, but in reviewing that in a half an hour, did I get a J trade? Can I attach a VWAP to see if the buying is good down there? So what time did that happen?
That was right as
That's
the comments were coming out about firing and the tariff. So right around 8:30 p.m. Central, 7:30 your time. Take a look at a shorter time frame. I'll mark out that 200 moving average. Let's look at a Yeah, we got a ton of volume into that low. I actually took a short with Dakota on slow markets last night. Very happy to have been stopped out of that trade where I was, because I was wrong. But yeah, we got some high volume. So this is the initial she's fired candle.
Yeah.
Then we have, this reaction at this low. We close above it, and volume trades above it. So now, if you're looking at that on that shorter time frame, why was I selling it? But that's why we manage risk, because sometimes you don't get the read right.
Well, yeah. And by the way, this is a process.
Yeah,
Um, repeatable. It's it's something I look at. I wasn't trading NASDAQ last night. But when we talk about having a plan, trading plan, if you're looking for 200, maybe you're not looking for it. That's fine. But it is a good tell when you get. We had a J trade just on volume alone, like
yeah.
selling climaxed. They didn't have any more sellers. Um, Now at that time, and as we say, this goes back to the psychology. At that point, without knowing that, right? If we move that chart all the way to the right, what do we see when that comes in? Oh man, he's going to take over the Fed. Everything's going. I mean,
It's going to zero.
it's going to zero. This is it. Damn. So it's happening, right? We just fell. How many? I think it was 100 points in.
Yeah, about 130 in 20
Yeah,
minutes, 30 minutes overnight. That's a
yeah,
huge move.
yeah. So you can look at that. The point is two things. If you're short, damn, this is the big one, and then greed comes in, right? Um, these are lessons. So when I say 2 to 1, if you're in that and you can get 2 to 1 in a night session, I'm personally that's reasonable. I can take it. But at that point, what else would get you out of that trade? For whatever reason, is looking at the flow. We had that heavy volume on the low and we closed above it. Okay, now you got new information. Okay, if I'm short, it's decision making time.
It's a good
Now,
point, Coach Paul. What you're saying here, finish that statement, because I did take a short and I got a 2 to 1, but I think I got greedy, and I paid
okay,
for it. That
I'm
trade
done.
stopped me out.
Did you get greedy because you didn't take it off?
Yeah, so I thought, and my eyes were bigger than my stomach here. I have to admit, but we had. Here's my thought process, and solid trade. We had the Fed governor getting fired candle traded up to the high of it. Volume is, rejecting up at this high. So far this tells me range bound market. And right around here is where I'm starting to short, right around 50% of this. So uh 2 ATR risk, about 36 points. Get a 2 to 1. There's your 2 to 1. Completely ignored the 200 moving average. And what I was looking for was, like Coop just said, it's the big one. It's the big
Uh,
one. Yeah, this was last night. This was last night. So what I was looking for, Coach Paul, hungry eyes. I'm looking for
hung-
this lower imbalance to fill. And if I read it now, and this is why we do some of this in hindsight, from this point, where's volume? 3 days. So what am I looking for? Am I trading what the market is presenting, or am I hoping right now? Come on, just do it. This is the big one. Sell it off. I was looking for 200 points. I got a little greedy, and that's why we manage risk, right? This trade didn't cost me a whole lot. I think overall I probably lost $300 on this trade, and it could have been way worse because I could have over leveraged. I could have said no, I'm right, the market's wrong, and still been holding on to a loser. Go ahead, Coach Roll.
could have been stubborn.
Could have been. And I have a tendency to do that sometimes.
Yeah, I have a stubborn streak in myself too, to the point where, it was good when I was right. Just right,
Right.
but when I was wrong, I'd self-destruct. So after a lot of heartache, I said, I could use stubbornness to follow a plan.
Mm. Tell us more.
So what I mean by that is you have to discipline, you know. When we're learning to trade, when you're in that, and it just doesn't happen. It doesn't happen in a week or two. It takes years, really, to become consistent. So learning, we've talked about this before. S- you need to know yourself more than know the market. When I finally realized how stubborn I was, I had to make an adjustment or leave. Now, there was a couple times when I had no choice but to stop trading because I didn't have any capital. Now, I think just about every trader goes through that. And that's the lesson you have to learn because you can be right and you have a big trade and not really be trading well
Great
because
point.
it takes time. If you have an edge, develop an edge, whatever that is, that's the trading plan. So without a trading plan, I would say you're even more vulnerable. It's just a matter of time before your bad habits catch you. So to help that, understanding a plan that's reasonable, especially in day trading. That's why I preach 2 to 1, 3 to 1. Um, is reasonable. Now, if you can get 2 to 1 and get a runner, that's another. Yeah, that's part of a good plan. But overall, know thyself. Like you said, you can be stubborn. There are days because what do you feel when you have that and you had that on?
Oh yeah.
Then it turns around and you're like, it's like I had someone describe it. It's like taking a toy away from a child.
It's
Like,
like if you ever watch Training Day, Denzel in Training Day, he's looking around, he's like, "Oh yeah, you gonna do this to me?" Um, he says some other lines that I'm not gonna quote here because I'll have all of you MFers in Pelican Bay by tomorrow, I believe he said, where it's like, no, I'm right. And then the market betrays you. And it's just like, no, you betrayed yourself, right? Where you had bigger eyes. Uh, who said it? One cool rattler asked the question: how do you stop yourself from looking for the big one for every trade, Coach Paul?
how do you stop yourself to what?
Yeah. What advice can you give to avoid the mindset of always looking for the big one when it
Oh
comes to
man,
trading?
um, first of all, understand your time frame.
Yeah.
Um, was it, you know, the greatest players in baseball aren't all home run hitters. Now, especially in day trading, it's about being consistent. So understanding first of all, you have to know what your edge is. That's your trading plan. Like I talk about 2 to 1. We see it every day what we do. Um, and have that and understand that. That's because what I hear the big one is everybody remembers like Michael. I'll give a Michael Jordan example when they won the championship against Utah, and he
Mm,
had that famous free throw. And he talks about everybody remembers that. They don't remember he missed three
right.
right before it in the last 10 minutes of the game. He missed like three.
Right.
So staying in the present, following a trading plan, understanding your job is not to hit home runs all the time. um, because it can be heartbreaking. Because like we just talked here, you had that, you're up. Now you could scratch that trade if that's part of your plan, but you can't let that turn and rip you. So when I talk about one of the ways to get rid of that home or the big one attitude is trade your capital, trade your account balance because you're cheating yourself. You think you're going to every day you can get, double your money. It doesn't work that way. And once through a lot of experience, because all wisdom comes through experience. Now, in my experience, I had no idea of this. None of it. All I saw was money. So, um, one step at a time, have reasonable expectations.
Yep. 2 to 1. That 2 to 1 Coach Paul's suggestion. Uh, they're not going to be small trades if you can manage it well, right? That 2 to 1 risk to reward is two ATRs on the time frame that you're taking the trade. Now, unless you're taking trades on 1 second charts, um, we're talking about 30 points of risk in the NASDAQ for this trade that I took last night, which sounds like a lot. And if it does, trade micros, then you can manage the risk. But this is looking for a measured 60-point trade in the NASDAQ. Coach Paul, you taking 60-point trades in the NASDAQ? Cool with those?
I'm all good with that.
Yeah, me too. If I can get,
Especially,
and you can get a couple of them. This was just last night. That's not even including today's price action. Last night, that could be your trade for the day.
yeah.
Oh,
So, that's why I go back. It's process, and Coach Dakota says it all: process over profit. Focus on your process. Tom Hugard, learn how to be a better loser. Don't don't focus on having more wins.
100%. All right, we spent a lot of time on the equities here. Let's go over to the Russell really quick because the Russell said, "Yeah, you guys are trading ranges. I don't do that." Uh, and the Russell had a pretty big day, high to low, about 1.5%. While everything else was kind of chopping around, the Russell, Coach Paul, looked like it was ready to break. What are we seeing on the daily here? And then we'll
Uh,
look at a shorter time frame.
Russell looks like it's going to continue to play the catch-up game. Um, should I call it the Heinz trade? Um, but yeah, that I think that was the best trade in equities, at least today. Let's look at that from this morning on the regular trading hours.
Yes, I know the Russell is still equities, but we can't forget it because sometimes it is the best mover, right? Kind of hard to ignore it. Here is take a look at a 5 minute chart. Oops, not mean to type five in the chat. All right, here we go. 5 minute opening range in the Russell, Coach Paul. Bought it.
And there it is. I, I actually, I'm glad we started. With a micro Russell, you can chew two or three of those
Yeah.
and not get killed.
Yep.
And when that thing goes, it goes. So there is urgency and allocation right there. Um, it came in early, and look at that volume. It was,
Yeah. This was like on the close, but this was yesterday.
yep,
Yesterday's closing volume. We closed
almost
above
had a
it.
J trade.
Yeah. I mean, there are multiple time frame market participants, right? So just because the day is starting doesn't mean you have to ignore what happened prior. Hogue talks about the late spike all the time. Tested into that spike, 50%. We close above it. Man, there are some markets presenting great opportunities. I tried to encourage some of my VIPs, especially the ones that are blowing accounts in 2 days. You're not trading with discipline, and then you're trading the hardest market to trade. Look somewhere else, and it may give you a different perspective. The Russell, no one will be talking about it on Topstep TV until you trade a Topstep account, get into a live account, hit the leaderboard, trading the Russell. That's a challenge out there for somebody. I don't know who it is. I don't know who's listening. Market that moves pretty well. Uh,
It doesn't have the violent vacillations, I'll call them. Either it's gonna go or it doesn't. It doesn't usually do the fake out, which we see in that. It's steady. It grabs a direction and usually follows it. Or if it doesn't find a direction, it doesn't do anything.
Media says you're gonna do it. Media, let me know, man. Let me know. It's possible. It is definitely possible. The way this market moves, and yeah, are we gonna have some not great trading days in the Russell? Yeah, but we have those in the Nasdaq and the S&P too. Uh, but when this market moves, at least, and I would hate to, we talk about this, and it's been the case for the past couple months, and then we go into consolidation because if we look at a higher time frame, you look at the monthly on the Russell, we really haven't gone anywhere for the year, but it's presenting a bunch of great trades right now. So, if you accept that as a challenge, more power to you. Let me know if it works out because I would love to hear it. Coach Paul's been talking about this thing for months now. Media, you have a good one. All right, Coach Paul. Anything else? Let's go to over to gold.
Yeah, I just heard Coach Jay talking to his VIPs, but he was not happy there. It was like when you're
Oh yeah,
sitting on the bench and someone comes by and says, "Hey, coach wants to talk to you."
yeah, man.
Ever heard that one? Oh no.
Got to give ourselves a chance. This is a tough game. It's a tough game to play, and we got to give ourselves a chance. I remind myself of that as well. My losses came from Nasdaq today. I just traded cattle. Great day. Uh, but let's take a look at gold, Coach Paul. What is gold doing? It is doing what gold does.
Actually finished nicely. Yeah.
Oh yeah, 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 yeah. Rallied into the close
Prob
off of some comments going on.
Yeah, well, as we were talking, we made new highs in NASDAQ and S&P. It looks like we did in gold. Yeah, I think is it on the sprung? No, no. Uh, but it was a nice move today. It's back above both those moving averages. Can it get some steam? I would like to see a little more than average volume.
Yeah.
What do you see?
Uh, it ranging, it doing its range thing, right? We talked about this middle area where we see range consolidation, but once we start to find some basing and getting away from it, ranges increase a little bit, and that's exactly what happened today, right? We had a 46 range in gold today. Daily ATR is 43, and that's just kind of been the case, right? Every time we're around this 3,400 level, getting tight with these moving averages, we see consolidation. But then on the breakout, you don't want to fade it once it starts to go. So we broke above Friday's high, yesterday's high, and just really started going from there. Let's take a look at the shorter time frames. Look at a half an hour. Change this back to extended, and yeah, same thing. Powell candle came down
50%.
into it pretty close to 50%. Let's put it on the daily because that's what we were doing with the others. Not always going to be exact, but in that general area, we start to see reversal, and then we have the reaction to, uh, the news last night, and this just looks like two big bull flags, right? Here's the flagpole, flag a little bit, pull back into it, another flag. Are these trying to do here? 57 points. Little measure mood action. But yeah, this looks extremely bullish into this close, ending on the day on the highs. Uh, and on that higher time frame, Coach Paul, that's what we expected. Now, my thing in gold is great. But what happens when we get up here to these equal highs? We still got a little way to go, but that's maybe two daily ATRs away. What happens when we get up there?
Well, we're gonna find out. We need to close above that, and if we do, I think there's a really good probability that we go to new high, all-time highs.
Uh, what I'm looking at in the more maybe immediate time frame is the candle that made that all-time high, 33.46, 34.64.80. the low of the candle that made the all-time high, that is the target that I'm looking at in gold right here. We can see a couple of times, look at all these other times we came up to this low of this candle, rejection, 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 until we get acceptance inside of it, rejection. So going into slow markets tonight or into tomorrow's trade, it's about 20 points above. Watching the market's response to that 3465-ish area to see if we start to get acceptance back inside there. All right. Let's answer some questions real quick in here, Coach Paul. We got one from Slowboy. Boss, any tips to walking away from the charts? I locked my accounts in the green last night, but got bored, ended up buying a fresh combine and full porting it to its death. I'll let you start, Coach Paul.
First of all, it's when we talk about discipline, you got bored. So really, you have to look inside and go, are you doing this for excitement? Or are you doing it as business? It's a really important question to ask yourself, because one of the things that came straight up, you said that you got bored and got back in. So you're really, I want to be straight up with you, you're gambling. Were you executing a plan, or were you just trying to make money? It sounds crazy. What do you mean? Of course, I was just trying to make money. There's a fine line there, because when you're just trying to make money, you're going to end up most of the time gambling. So take some time before you get another. Take a week off. Define why you're here, how you're going to trade. All right. Formulate a plan with risk management that you that you with a focus on managing the account. And once you do that, by the way, um, you said something there. How do I stop this? Now that's the first step into improvement. So, but I wouldn't jump in right away. Go back, reflect on it, take the rest of the week off. While you're doing that, take a day where you don't do anything. You don't even look at the markets. You see life in its true form. Relax, and then start developing some trading plan. Because to get like that quick, you're not trading. So once you do, you have a good shot at success. How about you, coach?
Uh, you know, we said it a couple times before, but so a lot of times, Coach Paul, when we ask traders what your goal is with trading, a lot of people say, freedom, time freedom. But then there isn't really much of a plan for what that freedom kind of looks like. So we just resort back to the charts, right? Because we know it's an opportunity. Every time you look at the charts, especially when you're in that mindset, like you said, if you're always looking to make money, you're looking at every time I look at the chart, it's an opportunity for me to make money. So why don't I just go do that? What we tend to neglect in that is that every time you look at the charts is also an opportunity for you to lose money, right? So if you are able to finish your work for the day, right? You locked up your accounts. Maybe you took managed risk and you lost for the day. If you're able to do that and you can say, "Hey, my work is done." How many people here work a 9 to 5, don't get paid overtime, but stay in the office until the next day just because you just love being there? Doesn't happen, right? But we look at trading as something different and not as a job as much. So plan what life looks like off the charts, right? Some people in the chat saying get a hobby, go for a walk, go outside, read a book. Just plan what your freedom looks like, what the rest of your time looks like, because the markets are open 23 hours a day. Uh, but if you don't fill that time with something, uh, in my experience, you are going to come back to the markets. So, like Coach Paul said, take some time away from the charts, maybe for a couple of days, and write out in your trading plan what it is that you're going to do when your job is done for the day. Because if it's not allotted for, the market is going to take it, from my experience. So that's a good thing, though. That's a good thing, right? We're talking about, you were able to lock your accounts last night. You take the rest of the day off and do whatever it is that you want to do, work on something else, work on yourself, work on your health, cook, do, anything. You got all the time in the world. Sometimes that's scary though. What do I do with all this time? Figure it out. You're in a good spot, like Coach Paul said. Um, Another question here from Genius Genie. A good friend of mine wants to join TopStep. He asked about your opinion about what is the best eval to go for, 50K, 100K, or 150K. I'm going to say the 100K, but with either one of them, if you're just starting at TopStep, trade micros, even in the 150K. Trade small, but I'm going to say the 100K. I like the 100K. $600 profit target, $3,000 drawdown, and there's enough room to work in that account. I like the 100K. One more question here from Philip. I tend to trail too close to not give back profits. Many times it wicks me out. I guess I'm afraid to lose the profits. What are your guys' recommendation about trailing, or do you not tail at all? How do we trail profits, Coach Paul?
I don't. I set my I look at it as a cost. When we talk about the principles of successful traders, predetermine the risk, accept it. Don't accept it, you can either pare down or don't take the trade. Now, as far as trailing, um, at a certain point when it gets farther away from the in profit, I'll look for a J trade or I can move it to unchanged. Um, so who was it? Was Coach Robert did a study about trailing,
Oh yeah.
and it was not it was not recommended. I'll put it that way. I can see now. What I would say is time price. I mean, you put some time and the price is moved in your favor. Um, yeah, there's some reason and then some steps for that. I don't do it. That's why I go to 2 to 1 because that's reasonable. Um, that's a style, but there has been some studies done by is trailing doesn't always work. Now, trailing if you have 2 lot on and you get to a 1 to 1 risk reward, take one off, move the stop to unchanged, and now you have basically free risk. That's the way I look at a good way to use trailing. But that's me. How about you, sir?
For me, the question I would ask that trader: Are you trailing to secure your profits, or are you trailing because that's what the market structure is? Right? If you're trailing based solely on a monetary focus, uh, not the reason you got into the trade, right? You got into the trade because the structure presented a good opportunity to take the trade. So, for example, let's say you got into this gold long here, right? Somewhere in this trade here. And let's go with a long position. And I personally like to try to find opportunities to trail the market because I ultimately, we set profit targets, but we don't know where the market's going to go. So if it's going to go, why not give it a little bit of room? But let's say that this was your trade here, and change this. Why is this so?
The
Say that's what.
master of the Telecaster, Coach J.
Let's say that's what that was your trade right now. You have profit, and like Coach Paul suggests, you're looking for a 2 to 1. And we'll measure out where a 1 to 1 is also, right? 1 to 1's right here. So you have a market that on a 5 minute chart is not taking out these lows, right? To me, that's where your trail should go, right? If once we start to break out and once we start, especially getting close to a 1 to 1, if I'm going to trail, the way I'm trailing is, are we taking out prior candles lows? If we are, then that might be a change of structure, right? Like Coach Paul said, that might be a J trade where you might have high volume that leads to a reversal. But in all of these, if I trail to the low of the previous candle. And I'm probably not doing this, 6 ticks into the profit, right? I'm talking about starting to trail when we get to a 1-to-1. Here's my first trail spot. I'm not stopped out. Okay, we get another 5-minute candle. Now my trail goes below here. Not stopped out. We get another one. Not stopped out. 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 We got your 2-to-1 there, Coach Paul. But maybe I don't want to exit here because let
Yep.
the market just
Yeah.
go. And now I'm stopped out here. Market conditions have to facilitate being able to trail also. But if you're trailing because, oh man, I'm up $100 and I want to give back $100, then yeah, maybe you are afraid to lose profits. Are you trading too big a size? Do you care so much about the result of one given trade that you can't give back profits? But trail based on structure.
That's a great point there. Um, because at that 1-to-1, if you're going 2-to-1, you can move that back to unchanged.
Yep.
And then if it keeps going, you can, but like you said, for a reason. It's like if you have an apple tree
Hmm.
and you can't wait and you start picking it before it's time, you really don't get the yield, do you?
Good point. Good point. Um, yeah, it's a great point. What I will say also is, again, I'm not trying to trail. We get a half to one or a quarter to one just because I want to secure some profits, right? You got to let the market work. But let's say you do decide to trail. Coach Paul's going to say, he's not trailing. Let's say you do decide to trail. As somebody who does trail, if you trail your stop, you get stopped out right here, and then you see the market do this, understand that you made a decision here and you took your profits, and this is what the market was willing to present to the decision that you made. This move at this point, if you can't find a way to get back into this trade, is not for you, right? Because
Yeah.
it's not the same trade. You made a management decision. A lot of times what will happen is you take this off, you feel good about it. Oh yeah, the market chopped around, and then we continue to rally another 6 points. And now maybe I'm shorting up here because oh, this wasn't supposed to keep going without me. Or maybe I over leverage because I should have been able to catch this part of the move. Trust, live with the decisions that you make and find the next trade up. All right. Crude oil, Coach Paul.
Speaking
President
of
wants it
two to
under
ones,
$60.
um, we had a nice rally early. Well, we went to that 50 moving average, right back to the 200. Can we hold it? We closed right around it. Um, yeah, right. There's
We're
the
under it.
cup. There's
Yep.
the handle.
There's the handle.
But that action today happened swiftly. Um, on talk. But talk is cheap. Margin costs money. What are the players really doing? Two things though that happened last night. We on that open, we did not find any follow through buying.
Urgency to the downside here.
We had urgency, and and we had a move in Asia.
Normally doesn't happen. That's a sign.
Yeah. Um, and then Europe or London called and said we got more. Um, and this was I found really interesting that I had that laid up because I marked those. What was the high of the U.S. session?
The low of the Europe session opening
Oh,
range.
yeah, and man, it
And
moved fast and hard.
yeah, we're looking at 30-minute ranges here, especially because we're starting overnight. Could we look at smaller time frames? We could, but in that overnight, just giving a little bit more data to allow the market to establish. But you can see it, right? Marking out that time frame. We didn't just pick a random candle here. This is where that volume comes in for the London session. We came back, checked those prices in New York, and the market said no, we're good with trading those. We're going to continue to sell. So marking out those levels, Coach Paul, and marking out, in our case, the volume coming from those levels could present some pretty good opportunity.
Yeah, because it rallied. It was rallying hard.
Yeah,
Um, like someone was waiting for a tweet and it turned around hard. Interesting though, I found that, but once again, we roll back into the bottom of the range. Probably, if that continues, I'll look for a place to buy it again.
Fundamentally, does the market respond to I want oil under $60? We'll see. From a technical perspective, we are still very much in this range. We are almost at time here.
Boy,
Coach Paul,
went
any
quick.
other markets you want to talk about before we go into a break? Anything on your scouting
Um,
report?
Nothing on the scouting report right now.
On the scouting report for me tomorrow, Nvidia earnings.
Yeah, that's
That's
probably
that's
why.
that's the big show. I am. Oh, actually, you know what? Cattle. Shout out to cattle. Shout out to Coach Hoop. New all-time highs in cattle today. I don't know why I'm celebrating this. I went to the grocery store the other day. Nothing to
Man,
celebrate.
well,
Uh,
you
but
know, I look at that chart and it's extremely bullish.
yeah,
It's a market that's captured. Um, and there's an old saw, and I'll give you the best cure for high prices is higher prices. At
how's
one
that work?
point, well, it cuts off the demand.
Okay,
What was to say? We talked about this before. I'm not paying that kind of money for steak.
right.
Now, enough people do that, and it cuts off demand. Then, I mean, it happened. We see this in cocoa. We saw it in coffee. We're seeing it in cattle. Um, those are commodities. Commodities are different than equities. Like I said, you can't just print up some cows. Um, or maybe you can. What is actually that's a good
I mean,
what's
don't
what's
put
the name
any
of that
ideas in somebody's Impossible Burger, Impossible
yeah,
Beyond Meats.
yeah, maybe look at those stocks.
Right.
But it
I
cuts it
wonder if
off,
they're
cuts
rallying.
off demand.
They were like such a big thing during COVID time. Go ahead. I'm getting sidetracked over here. Go ahead. Beyond Meat is in the in the in
Looking
the
for
toilet
the
right now.
stock
It is not doing
price.
any better. Nobody's eating.
Yeah.
What is it? Soylent Green. Uh, yeah.
Yeah,
Beyond Meat
until
is in the
they have
trash right
to.
now. $2.50. Yeah.
Really. So anyway, yeah, nice trade in the cattle. Sadly for us, well, maybe not for the cattle population in general. Um, but man, if I take a look quickly at that cattle weekly, it's it, like I said, you can't just turn this around. It's not going to.
In
This how
April, the
much is it up
president
this year?
said now is a great time to buy stock. Was he talking about livestock?
Oh,
Uh, here's April lows, and we are just rallying. This looks like the stock market up 25% from that point. So yeah, hasn't taken out a weekly low in a little bit. Did take it out here, but pretty much all year, these are just holding. About to see what these margin requirements are like on a swing trade with cattle. Next
yeah,
pullback, I'm
it's
buying. That is not financial advice. Uh,
that's
just what Jay is thinking. Um, but yeah, runaway market. Coach Hoop's been talking about it for a ton of time now. Let's see where it ends, but this is uncharted territories here. Yeah, don't eat Beyond Meat. I don't. I didn't. I've tried it. It was not my cup of tea. But
just put some more ketchup on it.
yeah, that is not nutritional advice.
Eat,
Uh,
eat like a child.
chicken nuggets and French fries. Chicken nuggets and French fries. All right.
All right.
Anything else we want to talk about, Coach Paul? Any final words you got before we leave for the day?
So, once again, we talked about earlier. Get a plan, trade your plan your trade, and then begin to trade professionally. That's it.
Some stuff. Thank you everyone for joining. We got Coach Hoop doing a class in Discord right now. In 15 minutes, Coach Robert's doing the class right now. And we have Coach Ray and Coach Vince, 6 p.m. and 7 p.m. Central Time. Of course, Dakota with Slow Markets at 7:30. He is going to continue his strategy building session. He's doing it all week, so make sure you join him there. We got Aaron with the London trade, London Open at 1:30. He with the Euro trade at 3:30. And we'll be back for the opening call tomorrow. Video watch party tomorrow. We're going to have some guests joining us here, so make sure you tune in for that. See how NVIDIA, the fate of the financial world at the hands of NVIDIA. We'll see what happens. But thanks everyone for joining. If you haven't done so already, hit that thumbs up button. We appreciate you all being here today, and we'll see you all tomorrow. Bruno, thanks again.
Bye.